Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the My Toolbox podcast. My name is Cheryl Mays, and I am your host this evening. We are talking about love letters. Our new podcast series on love letters features a lot of guests or several guests that want to share or are excited to share their love letters with us. So tonight, our special guest is Ms. Tabitha Mundy. She is one of Nashville's premier event organizers. With her talents for organizing, she can create amazing events that draw the attendance of Nashville's elite community. Tabitha is a serial entrepreneur with a number of successful initiatives to her credit. Tabitha's talent for organizing and managing events is well known in the Nashville area, and she will quickly say that the success of her events is a teamwork effort. Although I'll say everyone that has ever worked with Tabitha also knows that it is the Tab work that pushes her planning and her events to a higher level. So welcome to the conversation, Tab. I will give you a few moments if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Cheryl, for asking me to be a part of your love letter series. This is super exciting. And you could just call me Tab. It's easier for me, it's more casual. I'm a native Nashvilleian. 5 generations of my family have been from the Nashville area. And I am a graduate of Fisk University, also University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I got my master's from there. So I'm a Tennessee girl. I call myself a Southern girl because of basically how I was raised and taught to do things. And hospitality, I think, was always a part of my family and giving to others. And so I think that's a lot about, I give credit to that of shaping me a little bit. So I have a nonprofit organization called Project Pivot. And with that organization, we teach people how to know more about technology. We bridge the gap between people who have access to technology and those who don't. We've done partnerships with Martha O'Brien, Oasis Center, Stratford, and others, teaching the students how to make the games instead of just playing the game. So Fortnite is a $30 billion company. It's only 4 years old. This will be the 5th year in business. And so there are a lot of people out here playing the technology and purchasing from others, but it's important for us to know how to build our own technology and not just use what others have created. So we're very smart, intelligent people. So we really just teach that. We also teach just basic skills like how to use a PowerPoint, how to craft a good email, how to put together a good Excel spreadsheet to people who are working professionals and others. I also have a wellness company called Safe Spaces. With that company, it's really teaching women who are professionals and entrepreneurs how to take off that superwoman cape. So a lot of times women are doing all the things. We're working, we have children, we're cleaning our house, we're cooking, we're doing things for the neighbors, our parents. And with all of that, taking care of our spouses or our mates or, just being all things for them. And then we forget ourselves. And at the end of the day, we pass out, go to sleep, and get up and do it all over again. So Safe Spaces is a space where we can just show up as our authentic self. We don't have to put on airs and be who anybody else wants us to be. We can just be ourselves uniquely. And I love that. And
Sadly, sometimes we do all of those things at the same time.
At the same time, that's how we got that superwoman cape.
Yes.
But we could really do a lot of damage to our health, our bodies, our mental health if we just continue at that capacity and we never just take time to woosah breathe. And breathing is so critical and important. We go throughout our day and we don't even take time to realize how our breathing is, but focusing on deep breathing in and out and just taking time for 2 minutes to really focus on ourselves could make a big difference. And so Safe Spaces will be 1 year in existence in March. And so it's gone really fast, but gone really well. We've interacted with over hundreds of different women, and we have a partnership with Fisk and TSU. We have a college edition. So we're super excited about all of that that's going on.
It's one of
Uh,
my favorite events, I'll tell you that. And it's so funny. It doesn't seem like it's only been a year.
yeah,
It's a great event.
it's only been, well, March will be a year, but it's been so much happening, so much work, a lot invested in a short period of time, a lot of lives touched,
Yes.
and a lot of great feedback from it. So we'll continue on with that, and hopefully we'll be having a retreat coming up soon and a conference this year for that, and creating more opportunity for women to come together and just be.
I love it. And that leads me to my main question for you today. If you could write a love letter to something that you are passionate about and fills you with purpose, what would it be?
And I was thinking about this. It's a hard thing to kind of narrow down, but I put my top three there. I hope that's okay. So
Absolutely.
thank you. So number one would be my passion for people. I love people, and when I say that to folk all the time, they're like, "How do you do everything you do?" And I was like, "I really genuinely love people." And so when COVID happened, that was a hard time for me because I go in for the big embrace with people. I hug them tight. And when I do, I mean, I feel the energy between the other person, and I want to be whatever that person needs, for me to be in that moment. So it's an intentional time with another person. I want to be totally present with them, and just be in good conversation, or even if it's not conversation, we're on an outing, whatever it is, just being really present with them and getting to know them genuinely for who they are. So my first love is people. And I've learned through this process of my love of people that there are a lot of introverts out here. So my personality is kind of big. Okay. And so I've had to learn that everybody's not like me. And I think that was a hard thing for me to understand, because I do come in and I show up with all of me, but that might be too much. And so I've learned for people who are introverts to be respectful of their space. But then I've also heard them say, no, don't stop. So it's almost like they still want me to be me, but I also at the same time have learned how to be respectful of their space, because I know introverts needs time to recharge. So
Yeah, and I can tell you some introverts need to be drawn out. So I consider myself an extroverted introvert. I'm an extrovert when I need to be, but I am introverted most of the time. So we do appreciate your big energy because it usually comes along at a time when we really need it the most. So thank you for that.
okay, good. You're welcome. And the second would be my love for the community. I really just see things, I think, so differently than many other people, because there's a lot of silos that exist within the communities, and people are doing good work, but people outside of their silo might not know about the good work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so in their mind, they are doing all the things. And then when someone else is trying to maybe get involved, they become territorial. Or when somebody else doesn't know about what's going on, it's because they've hovered over their
Mm-hmm.
work, and their passion probably so much that they've not let anybody else in. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I look at our community, I just see so much hope and purpose and like possibility, but then it's all of these obstacles that come into play because people, um I don't know how to say it, they don't play in the sandbox well. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times drawing that line to where they don't want to let anybody else in. But I just feel like, especially for Nashville, the metropolitan area, if we let people in the space, we could be a model community for others across the country to see, because it's right there. We're like on the tip of the iceberg, but we can't see it because we're in the
Yeah.
forest a lot of times.
And I think sometimes it's that fear that it will be taken away. You've worked hard. This is one of the things that I love about, well, a lot of things I love about nonprofits, but one of the things that makes me cautious about nonprofits is when you reach a point where you have a board of directors and you have to make sure that they are aware of everything that you're doing. And if for some reason things don't go according to plan, as that leader, and usually that person who has built that organization from the ground up, you now become you are at the whim of the board of directors. If they decide that you are no longer working, then they will oust you and your hard work goes to someone else to continue. And that's kind of tough. I've seen that happen to some nonprofits over the years, and it's a hard pill to swallow for those individuals who have put their blood, sweat, and tears into it, only to have something taken away. So I think a lot of times that people hold on to things and become territorial because of fear. They fear what they don't know. They fear someone may come in and attempt to try to change something or remove it from them. So it could be a fear.
Yeah, and it is the fight or flight type of thing, and people put up walls and their boundaries in a certain kind of way to protect self, which
Mm-hmm.
is a natural thing to do. And that's another thing I've learned about loving people, because people do come with all kind of motives and intentions, and sometimes they're not good. And I've been, I guess, hurt before because I
Mm-hmm.
was so disappointed or shocked about how a person interacted, and it does not feel good. And for people to just like intentionally sabotage or stab you in the back, or just with malintentions. But I look at it too as those people are hurting themselves. They're hurting, and so with their hurt, they want to hurt other people because they're so
Mm-hmm.
upset. I see it just on a regular basis too. People are really angry. And so that too
Yeah.
doesn't help you in a healthy kind of way. Just harboring all that anger and hatred for others just is going to tear you down. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually you never win. Somebody told me a long time ago, and I come from corporate America in healthcare, and it was like my first job at what used to be called Baptist Hospital. It's Midtown now. But the chief nursing officer told me, she's like, never burn any bridges. She kind of reached out to me and was just giving me these little nuggets. And one of
Mm-hmm.
them was never burn a bridge. And I
Mm-hmm.
never forgot that. And so it stands out to me to this day because it just kind of shocked me a bit. But now I understand what she's saying, because you're going to possibly be in situations in life that are going to be uncomfortable, and you might instinctively want to just cut that person off or do something that could be with malintentions, but it's not even worth it.
You
And people, go ahead.
you just reminded me of something along those lines. And I come from corporate America too, so I know exactly what you mean. I remember years ago, this was probably my first or second year working in corporate America, and I had developed a relationship with a young lady who I thought was just amazing. She was going places, she was doing big things. And I remember going into the office one day and seeing her, and she told me that she was going to be leaving the organization. And it just kind of shocked me. I was like, but I know all the things that you do, and I know how amazing you are. And she said, Cheryl, a lady knows when to leave the party. And I have never forgotten that. And it took me a while to get that understanding of why she finally said, you know what, I've had enough here and let me move on. But along the lines that you said, someone sharing a nugget with you that you carry, I have carried that for probably 20 plus years. And it always rings true when a situation presents itself where I think about, this is probably not a good fit for me anymore. I think about her and I say to myself, maybe it's time to leave this party. So I thank you for reminding me of that. That's one of those things that I will always carry with me.
Yeah, I'm going to actually write that down because, again, back to how I was raised, it was in such a way to where they wanted to make sure, I was always a lady and always together and
Mm-hmm.
don't get outside this box. And so, again, with my personality, it was like, oh, but now I want to try this and this. And they're like, oh, no, ma'am, you're not going to do all those things. But being a lady is critical. It's important to be, and having grace and how we communicate, and then
Mm-hmm.
to know when to exit a room for a
Absolutely.
situation. I'm gonna I'm gonna put that in with my toolbox. So
Yes.
I'll know how to so I'll know how to proceed in cases to where I might linger too long.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important. That small piece of advice has afforded me an opportunity to walk away from things that would have turned, uh, would have not had a good outcome had I stayed. And so
Mhm.
I just mentally now I think about any situation that I'm in, is this where I need to be? And if not, it's time to leave this party. A lady knows when to leave the party, so that piece
Yes,
of advice has helped me tremendously over the years.
yes, I love that.
Yeah, so you said three things. You talked about people and community. What's your third thing?
The third thing is connections.
Mhm.
I think that it's something that I organically do, and I didn't even know I was doing it until people were telling me you're a connection. And so, making connections and bringing people into a space that they have never been into before is
Mhm.
something I love to do. And I've seen people like give me kudos like on Facebook and different shouts out via text or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't even think it was a big deal, but it is. If somebody's not invited to a space or invited to an opportunity or a room or to meet somebody who's at a C level and they're just trying to figure out business life or whatever, they need somebody who's going to be able to make a connection for them like that. And I love doing it. And it's not always just business, it can be just friend connections a lot of
Mhm.
times. And,
Mhm.
you know, because I've heard that people have trouble making friends a lot of times. So, people who've been in my circles and connecting with other people, that has really just blessed them in so many ways. So, um, I look at that corridor of the HBCUs with TSU, Fisk, and Meharry being in such close proximity. And I always wonder, why the connection is not stronger than what it is. And that's something that's totally inside of me. I would just love to be a bridge to make that whole connection be, because they're all working and doing their own thing so well, as we saw with the Grammys, as we've seen with the gymnastics, as we've seen
Mhm.
with the COVID and how Meharry led, Dr. Hilders led our country. But how do we integrate that? Like, how do you make that connection across the street or
And
down the street?
it's interesting that you say that. As you are speaking that, I am envisioning the tab work continuing in that regard. I just see something is about to materialize to where you will come up with an idea that makes that connection happen. So I'll just sit back and wait for it. And then when it happens, I'll just say, all right, Tab, I'm on your team.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love your energy as well, Cheryl, because it's been a joy to just watch you lead. And I love learning from people, and I love powerful women and watching them in their element and doing their thing. And I think we first met through the MLK planning committee
Yep.
opportunity. And so it's been a pleasure and honor to do whatever you need me to do. So
Well, and you said something earlier that stuck with me. It's how I operate, intentionality. That's what I am. And this is, I think I have been drawn to you because I do the same thing. I see you as a connector, and I consider myself a connector. When I'm mentoring young women, I tell them all the time, I need you to understand the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. And if they don't understand the difference between the two, then I explain that to them. And I tell them that, you know, I can be your mentor, but that comes with a lot of things that we need to talk about. And if I'm going to be your sponsor, I need to know who you are, what you're capable of, what your skill sets are, because your sponsor is the person who's going to be out there speaking your name in rooms that your feet have never touched. And
yes.
that is one of the most powerful tools you can have in your toolbox. If you've got that sponsor who is representing you, then your doors are always open. And so I like to connect people on that level because I've had the same thing happen with me. I've had several people speak my name in places where I hadn't yet to go, and it created an opportunity. And I want to make sure that I'm always giving back and pulling people up just like I was pulled up. So that intentionality means the world to me. I have to be intentional when it comes to young ladies, because if we don't do that, who's going to do it? And I think, and my faith tells me that my grandmother instilled this in me a really long time ago. It is up to us to make sure that we are supporting and taking care of those who cannot support and take care of themselves. We've got to do our part. So in that vein, I want to make sure that I'm reaching back and pulling someone with me. And the crazy thing is, and I know that you probably can speak to this too. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of people, and sadly, Black women can be guilty of this more than most, not wanting to pull anybody up because of the fear that they'll go ahead of them. I would much rather, if you have something that I don't have and you can make this thing better, I need you to be out there in front making it happen. Because if you're making that happen, that opens up another opportunity for other people to come along behind you. So give me your feedback on that one.
So I think that's the ultimate connection. Being able to sponsor someone or speak someone's name when they're not in the room is the ultimate connection, as I think, especially in this market, because it's still very much a town and who you know. And if someone can give a nod to another person, that's more powerful than a resume. That probably be under the stack of 500 people trying to apply for a position. That whole thing, what you said about Black women, I feel like there hasn't been enough platforms to really talk about that. And it was a couple years ago, I was real passionate about it. I said, no one's saying it. It's an elephant in the room. We talk so much about white America and what whites do to Blacks, but all of the opportunities I got in corporate and elevated up was because a white person actually brought me into the fold. And I had, and since not being in there, I've had Black women just actually, we can be cruel. And I didn't even really know that. And so no one talks about that mean girl spirit, or why is it that we're so competitive towards one another versus what I've seen white women do more collaborative, especially that common goal of getting to the bag, as people say these days.
Right.
They make that thing happen while we're over there trying to harbor information and not let the sister, and we call each other sisters, it's so interesting, but not let the other sister know what opportunity is out there. So I guess that's a passion I don't know how to even really talk about too well and articulate it well, because it's not discussed enough. I think people tiptoe around it behind the scenes, but I really feel like we need to bring that out to the open and really deal with it. And the other thing about how we talk to one another, it's where another Black woman will just cut down another in open settings a lot of times, and we accept that as a norm. So there's a lot of norms between Black women that are done that are just unhealthy. So I feel like we need to start having an intentionality around being more sisterly, as we call it, or Black women empowering Black women, and be okay with that unapologetically. So I think a lot of times too, we want to be that one in the room that only, Black one, because that means we made it, or we have something that's so good that nobody else has been able to bring to fruition. But no, that's not.
It's counterproductive to everything that we are saying that we are trying to do. And I have been, unfortunately, that has happened to me several times where I have had someone speak negatively about me because, well, frankly, I don't know why, but and then turn around and need something from me, which is really kind of confusing. It's like, but I thought you felt a certain way, and now you are coming back around. So I don't understand, and I can't get with the fakeness of it all. I would much rather you be yourself. If you don't like me, just say so, and we can, make peace with that and move on past it. But I don't understand this. I need you to be held down so that I can shine mentality. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't want you to climb up to the top of this ladder because I'm here and I should be the only one shining. That has never made sense to me. I guess that's why I'm so intentional about trying to make sure that I speak the names of individuals in other rooms. And I go out of my way to get to know somebody so that if an opportunity arises and someone says, yeah, I need somebody to do this thing or that thing, if I've already made those connections, I have a person who can do that thing. Let me tell you about them and, just move on from there. I'd much rather do that and push those people out there. Sometimes you can push people out too far and they're like, will you quit telling my name to everybody? So
But yeah, so it undermines our population as Black women. You're
yes.
undermining our whole entire population with that. One. And the other thing is, we don't create momentum and leverage for Black women to soar. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's this pecking order: white men, white women, Black men, Black women. We're at the bottom. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if we continue down that trajectory of that hate on one another, we will not advance. But we have opportunity to get it right. We just have to want to.
Yeah, and I think you made a very valid point. We don't have these conversations enough. I recently had a conversation with several friends of mine, and we touched on this very topic. And that was between my close knit friends, but we don't have it. We don't have the conversation as much as we should. Now, the other thing for me, and I don't know how anyone else would feel about this, but for me, I am that person that you will never see me put down another person in a group setting like that. That is taboo for me. I'm not going to be in an open setting dogging out Black women. Now, if
Yeah,
we're in a closed conversation, oh, yeah, we'll have that sister conversation and, move from there. But it's unfortunate because we don't have the conversation enough to where it is normal everyday conversation. And I think because of that, we are not doing our best. We could be doing so much better.
absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely could elevate one another. And it's that ongoing, I think, professional development and
Mm-hmm.
personal development. I think that will help us get to the next step, because a lot of times we wonder, well, why didn't I get this opportunity? Well,
Right.
it could be about how that particular person is carrying themselves out in the community, in the world, and people are saying enough is enough,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with the negativity or whatever.
Yeah, and I ran into that earlier today. I ran into that situation where I was in conversation with someone, and it was me and two other women, two other Black women. Uh, and we were all three just chatting. I didn't think anything else of it. And one of the women, as I was about to walk away, she grabbed me and pulled me back and said, no, no, hold on. I need to share something else with you. And that made the third woman walk away because she just assumed that it was a private conversation. And so when the third woman walked away, the woman who pulled me back in said, I really didn't have anything else to share with you. I just did not have anything to say to this other woman because apparently the other woman was being very negative and it was time for her to move on and she couldn't figure out a way to get out of the conversation. So she just pulled me back in. And it's just mind-boggling to me. It's just mind-boggling to me that you wouldn't say to someone, that's not okay. If they are saying something that you don't feel is the right thing, or if it's something negative towards someone, I don't understand why we can't just be honest and say, you know what, that's not okay. I've had a conversation where and this has created a situation where this person is no longer even speaking to me, where they were being very negative towards someone else. I didn't really know the person they were being negative towards, but it really offended me that they felt it was okay to speak in this manner about this other person. And I was like, you know what? That is not my business. That has nothing to do with me. And frankly, doesn't really have anything to do with you. That is that person's business. And, if that's how you feel about it, that's fine. But I just don't want to hear about it. I just don't want to be involved in that conversation. And the other person got mad at me because she was like, well, what do you mean? Like, you know what? Just let's move on to something else. So it's
I,
crazy.
I think that communication styles are so varied, but it is, and we don't have just one language that we're using where everybody is respectful of one another. But I think it is another point that we should work on, because we have this next generation of girls that are developing and they're watching what we all do. So if we want to change the trajectory, if we want to kind of open up this new playing field, we have to model differently as adults, as Black women, to these young ladies and girls that are coming up behind us.
And we have to remember that they are, to your point, they're watching us just like we watched our mothers and our grandmothers. And I can tell you, my grandmother influenced a lot of who I am. So I know that they're watching us, because my daughter, oh my God, my daughter is me all over again. And it's a little scary, to be honest with you. But we need to be mindful that you're right. They are watching us and we are the models. We have to model the behavior that is going to be a positive for them and not a negative. So that's something that we've got to continually think about. Good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Wow. So you have a young man. So as a mom, how do you model yourself for him?
Yeah, because he's watching all
Yes.
the time, all the things, and asking all the questions. I think consistency is the one thing that Zion knows that he will get from me. Consistency of, you know, communicating in the morning, good morning. He knows he's going to have affection from me. He knows that I'm going to watch and make sure he's going to get to where he needs to be every morning. And then he's in school. So when he returns, making sure that, you know, someone's there to, well, that I'm here to make sure that homework is done, that he can rely on me to help make sure he's going to get those skills sharpened to make the grades that, you know, he wants to make and that I would like to see him make. Cooking for him, I feel like that is how I show up for him, making sure that his meals are prepared hot every day, and making sure he's on a good schedule. And I also show up just before, you know, showing up is like a bedtime ritual. You know, there's things that we do. He says his prayers. We do that together every night, and he still gets a tuck in. So I feel like just being consistent with those things will help him develop routines as he ages. It will help him understand how to manage relationships, because hopefully he'll be consistent in his relationship. Like what he says he's going to do, he actually does. And how he shows up present for other people, and then how he'll be for his mate eventually. Maybe me modeling as a female when he is of age where he's going to be in a relationship and stuff like that, that there'll be things that he will do from a guy perspective, with affection, because he's a love bug. And I feel like he's that way because of I love on him. And I feel like everybody does. When he's out in the community, everybody's hugging on him. And so he knows that that's okay. And I feel like a lot of times males don't feel like that's okay. But I think being well-rounded is an important thing to be. So keeping him also engaged with sports and activities and friends. And he has his own calendar.
Yeah, believe me, I know how that goes. When my kids were younger, my social life was dictated by whatever they had going on. So I totally understand that. You know, one of the things that I heard recently, and I believe Denzel Washington was the one who said this, that for a son, his mother is his greatest first love, or his last first love, or his greatest love, or something to that effect. But for a mother, her son is her greatest love. And I think about that. And he said, especially for the firstborn son, because I have two sons, and I can tell you that my sons are absolutely my joy and my loves. And I see the men that they have grown into, and I'm so proud of them. And I think, to your point, it had a lot to do with how I loved on them when they were growing up. And I gave them that role model of how you treat a woman. how you
Yes.
treat a woman and how you can expect to be treated by a woman.
Yes.
So I think that makes a huge difference. I've seen, especially my baby boy, he's my love bug. He's still my love bug, and he is going to make an incredible husband one day. And I think my grandchildren are going to be super excited to have him as a dad. My oldest son is already a dad, and he is a phenomenal father. And he's a girl dad, so he's learning what it's like to have a girl to raise. But he's a phenomenal father. So I'm pretty excited about where they're going, and I think you're right that it absolutely made all the difference in the world and how you raise them as their little ones and they grow into young men, and you have to be consistent with them. You have to be
Yes,
consistent. So
you
that's a
do.
very good point. I
Yeah.
can't wait to have more grandchildren. I won't even get into that conversation right now, but that's a whole nother thing. But it's been just the most beautiful thing in the world to be able to be with my granddaughter, who is 7 in a 40-year-old's mind. Yeah, so she is very mature for her age, but it's been a blessing. It's been an absolute blessing. So
Does your daughter have kids as well?
my daughter has a pup. I have a grand
Oh,
pup.
that's right. I remember she did
Yeah.
get the yes.
Yeah, she has a pup and she is learning, which is funny to me now. She'll send me a text message with videos of her walking the pup and, oh, mom, guess what the pup did today? I was like, you are such a mom. You don't even know it, but you're a
I love
mom.
it. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
she's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh, yes, you are, my friend. Yes, you are. Trust me. Been there, done that. I recognize it. But yeah, one of these days, she goes back and forth on me. She says, maybe I want no kids. And then 2 weeks from then, it might be, I want 6 boys. That used to be her thing. I want 6 boys. I'm like, well, you better marry well, my friend, because that's a lot. So who knows? One of these days, I might get more than a grand pup out of her, but yeah, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
But
No hurries.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good. So we're coming up on about 5 minutes of time left. So I'm going to give you the floor and ask you if there's anything else you'd like to share. And if you want to share any social handles or any upcoming events or anything you'd like to share with our audience, feel free to do so, my friend. You have the floor.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I'll share my social media. I'm not really a huge social media person by nature, but I know that's how we communicate these days. So I'm Miss Nashville on IG, and that's a whole life of its own. People do
Mhm.
refer to me as Miss Nashville because that's my socialite side.
Mhm.
Um, and so me and my friends, we do have a Mardi Gras event coming up on the 21st. It's a Mardi Gras party bus. And so you could just go on my Miss Nashville and find the link to that. Um, and we have, let's see what else. I'm a part of 100 Black Women. So we have the Sister for Sister conference coming up in April. So you can check out the Nashville, Metropolitan Nashville chapter of 100 Black Women to see more information about that. And I think that's about it.
Well, just to give you a really good plug, for those of you who are watching and or listening, Tab is also the chair of the MLK Day Gala Committee, and she did an amazing job pulling together our first inaugural gala, which was attended by over 300 individuals, and we knocked it out of the park. And it was an amazing, amazing event. And it will happen again in January of next year. Tab, give them the date for that.
Yes, it's Thursday, January 11th, 2024. And we had our first planning meeting today. We're super excited about the possibilities of what that design is going to look like for the gala. And we are hopeful that all the people will be in attendance as listening to this podcast.
Absolutely. And if anyone is interested in sponsoring the event, I'm sure we would love to have a conversation with you. But it has been my absolute joy and pleasure to work with you, Tabitha. You are a true professional and you are amazing at what you do. So now people who have worked with you understand why I coined the phrase the tab work. So you'll see hashtag tab work. So thank you so much, my friend, for everything. And I'll give you the last word on giving our audience a farewell. So you have the floor, my friend, once again.
Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to um, share my passions through your love letter series. I think that the last nugget that I would like to leave is for people to show up as their authentic self and be open to receiving the authenticity that comes from other people so we can collaborate and work well together in our community.
That is beautiful. And I thank you once again. So friends, if you want to learn more about the Love Letter series, please tune in to the My Toolbox podcast on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, or you can go to the My Toolbox Consulting YouTube channel and you will see all of the podcasts posted there soon. So thanks, friends.